You can stretch it, cut it, crochet into it. What is it? Well, this material is usually found at craft stores or online, being called something like crochet headband ribbon or elastic headband trim. Its vague name makes it a little hard to search for, but once you know what you're looking for, it's pretty easy to spot. If you have seen it around, it was probably like this, pre-sewn into a circle with or without a little flower glued to it for a baby headband or something. But I wanted to turn you guys on to this unique material because of its potential for applications in our crochet projects. I've found that it works so perfectly as a waistband in my crochet bottoms, and I've had lots of fun with it in general. I also tried the elastic waistband on this crocheted skirt. Of course, I had to make the waist larger since the project doesn't stretch so that I could get the thing on. And then I did what many of us do. I crocheted a little drawstring to cinch it up once I put the skirt on. But I never like how purely drawstring held up garments feel, and I think it could look better too. So just wait until you see the difference once I add the elastic waistband. Okay, aside from the white on green given Santa's little helper, it goes on just like a store-bought piece of clothing. And it looks, fits, and feels amazing. This gives me so much more confidence to wear my crochet bottoms out and about. You can imagine how, if I just matched the yarn color, the crochet would all blend nicely together with the character of the elastic ribbon. I've played around with different elastic in my crochet before, and a couple of problems I've ran into that keep me from reaching for it more often is that the fabric can bunch and kind of distort the stitches. It has the weakness of being easily unraveled, so if you're really relying on it to make the design fit, well, there goes that. And in the case of thicker elastic bands, which are good for waistbands, I don't sew, so there's always the issue of how to secure either end and somehow cover it with crochet in a way that isn't too bulky. This crochet headband ribbon seems to solve a lot of those issues. So let me show you how I seamed it into a waistband and added it to that pair of shorts. So far, my favorite way to use this stuff in wearables is to actually fold it in half. It covers the rougher elastic side so that the softer part is actually on the skin, and I feel like doubling up gives the perfect amount of stretch and structure for a waistband. To get the length, I just measured it around my body right where I want the waistband to sit, and I didn't just do my full waist circumference because we want to account for that stretch, so you'll want there to be a gap. I pulled the ends together to kind of mimic the amount of stretch I'd expect in a waistband, and then relax, and there's about a 2.5 to 3 inch gap. Then you can cut the ribbon right at that spot. So we can fold it in half and seam the edges together. I found that a 5.5mm crochet hook was the perfect gauge for me, but more on that in a bit. So I initially wanted to work into these little loops on the edge, but it wasn't a sturdy enough join, so I actually like to seam the edges by crocheting into these gap spaces between the puffs. Make sure to work at least 1 stitch in from the rough edge. You can fasten on a complementary colored yarn, and the yarn does not have to be stretchy. I'm using a 0 stretch cotton yarn here. I'll work into the front space and the back space and make a single crochet into the next 2 spaces and single crochet. As you're working along, you just want to be sure that your stitches are not so tight that they're constricting the stretch of your elastic. If the stitches are kind of cinching up and not giving you that movement, you'll want to go up a hook size or 2. So you can continue along working those single crochets, and when you get to the end of your piece, we can contend with those raw edges and seam the waistband in the round. I did this by working a row of surface crochet down the width of the back piece, with the 2 ends slightly overlapping. It's a bit of a fiddly thing to film, but as long as you keep your yarn in the back and slip stitch through both pieces, you'll have your little seam. Then I like to do it once more back down the other way. This made my seam super duper secure, and it got my working yarn back down to where my single crochets are. So now I'm ready to crochet right into them. Or in this case, to add the waistband to already made shorts. So with my shorts inside out, I lined up the back seam with the back of the shorts and single crocheted evenly across all the stitches. You might be thinking, well, what are the odds that the stitch count of the shorts and the waistband are exactly the same? Well, they weren't. So I did crochet a couple waistband stitches to multiple short stitches. It's pretty easy to calculate how often you need to do that once you have both stitch counts. The single crochet seam is quite visible, but that's why I did it on the inside. It's still nice and stretchy. So tell me, what do you think about this stuff? Are you gonna give it a try? I think it could be great for straps on tops, or even to like hold up a tube top. Those are always challenging in crochet. The pattern for the rainbow granny square shorts in this video is coming up next, so subscribe for that, and I'll see you next time. Bye!